He was the captain. He was a leader. He was a serious type. And I just don't know that that's really going to... I mean, we'll see, but I don't see how that translates well to being a good color guy, or at least an interesting color guy. But we'll see. I mean, who cares ultimately? I listened to all those broadcasts on mute in the first place, so what does it matter to me? But
Go Jeets.
Yeah, Jeets.
Team Spotlight this week, John. Where's your glowing report of the Red Sox? How excited are you about the Red Sox win streak? Do you not want to allow the Red Sox to send Adam Duvall to the Cincinnati Reds in a trade package where I feel like he's been a Red like 14 times? He's like, he just alternates getting traded to the Reds and the Braves.
I was going to say, he's been either a Red or a Brave or a Red or a Brave or a Red or a Brave. I'm not...
what do you want to do here? Are you conflicted?
Well, I don't know, because... Look, this team is not good enough to make the playoffs. Like,
are we sure about that?
I mean, they are 11 and a half games out of first place in the division, and
division's not happening. But
division's not happening.
Card.
I mean, it's possible, but for me, it's not even so much that the other teams ahead of them are better. It's that there are a lot of teams just ahead of them. You have to not just be hot, but be hotter than like 6 other teams at the same time. That's tough to do.
They have a better playoff odd than the first place Cincinnati Reds right now.
I mean, the Red Sox would be in first place in the AL Central by 3 games right now. And they have a third of the playoff odds the Twins do. I love the Central divisions. This is a perpetual, obviously.
Who would you bet on the wheels falling off faster, Justin Turner or Andrew McCutchen? Who stops being a productive MLB hitter first at what age?
Whoever gets injured first. That's pretty much it. Those guys are such professional hitters, clearly. Like, those dudes will just... And, like, similarly, JD Martinez, they'll just rake until they die. Because they'll just manage to figure it out. I think the thing that keeps me from being as optimistic about the Red Sox is... And granted, the pitching has been much better the last week. The pitching is just not there in some. You know, you're counting on... The rotation right now is... James Paxton... Garrett Whitlock, Brian Bayo, Cutter Crawford, rotating 5th starter because they just don't really have one right now because of the injuries to Chris Sale and Tanner Houck, and the demotions to the bullpen of Nick Pivetta and Corey Kluber, and Corey Kluber now on the injured list, and I would not be surprised if that's the end of the road for Corey Kluber. He has looked really bad, both as a starter and a reliever this year. You know, if the Red Sox were to go out and add a starter, like an actual above league average starter, I would feel better, although I still don't know at that point, just because, you know, the 4 teams in front of them in the division are really good. Even with me crapping on the Yankees for just not having an offense right now, those are 4 really good teams ahead of them. To say nothing of the Astros and potentially the Angels also being ahead of them in the postseason chase. You know, I mean, you asked me to rank those teams in terms of how optimistic or likely they are, how optimistic I am or how likely they are to make the playoffs. I mean, I don't know that the Angels are a better bet than the Red Sox, but after that, I feel like the Red Sox are in kind of the same... There's not really... They need to differentiate themselves somehow, and I think it has to be they need to go and add pitching. Because you're counting right now...
If you look at it, they're third in Major League Baseball in hits.
I think
behind the Rangers and Blue Jays.
Their offense is fine. I think the other thing they would need to focus on is getting a legitimate shortstop. And whether or not that they're waiting for Trevor Story to come back and seeing if he can do it, or getting, getting proactive and going out and finding someone. It's just not working right now. Kike Hernandez, God bless him for trying. He is an awful defensive shortstop. He cannot play the position anymore. You know, I don't know that you can roll forward that. I mean, because this team also defensively is just not very good for the most part. You know, the outfield is okay, but the infield is kind of a mess. The catching is okay as well. You know, this is not a team that's going to win with pitching and defense. This is a team that's going to win because it out-hits you. And I think that's certainly something that's feasible over the course of a season, and I think why you see the Red Sox are capable of going on these runs, because they can just beat up on bad pitching or take advantage of a team that maybe has its pitching a little scrambled right now. But when push comes to shove and they're facing good pitching and they need to scratch out runs and manufacture them, I think it's going to be a lot harder, especially because they're going to have a harder time keeping runs off the board with their pitching and defense. So I'm not optimistic that the Red Sox are a playoff team. I'm happy to see them playing this way. This way beats being a sub-500 team, that's for sure. But I think a good Red Sox team is still at least another, like a contending, World Series contending team is at least another year or two away, depending what happens this offseason.
I think the Red Sox are going to hang around. I think everyone in the AL East hangs around until the end of the year. I don't think
I
anybody's out of this
agree
race.
with that, because there's, again, the only real competition that the 4 non-Rays AL East teams have in the wild card are the Astros, the Angels, and maybe the Guardians or the Twins, depending on who wins the Central.
Maybe the Mariners.
That's not so. Realistically, that's the Astros. You know,
Yeah.
you're not. I don't know if any of those teams are really worried about the Angels or the number 2 AL Central team. So, you know, that's. I think, you know, if you're in that group, you're feeling pretty good ultimately, but otherwise, you know, who knows? / we'll see.
Guardians have 46 home runs still to this point there.
They're not a good offensive team. Not in particular.
For comparison, the Braves are at 128 right now.
Yeah,
And I think Matt Olson has 112 of them.
The one he hit against the Phillies either yesterday or the day before that went approximately 900 feet and also about 3 miles into the air. Very impressive.
Yeah. We'll end on the San Francisco Giants, Jon Tayler. They're on a big win streak right now. They win in a walk-off walk. Do you like those orange-white uniforms they wore last night? Do you like them?
The City Connects? Or
Yeah, do you like those?
They're fine. I think most City Connects are fine. I don't think there's been a truly bad City Connect uniform.